Welcome to Mocktails Are Messy. This is Ryan Frankowski, and she couldn't make it today. Kelly Mizgorski is in some hot water, or should we say deep water? She's got some flooding issues. I mean, this bestie co-host Kelly is just going through the ringer right now. I mean, I feel like she can't catch a break. It's like moving into the new house, needing to get electrical work redone, and then it's like, two kids that have been sick for the last 2 weeks. It's just like it's a never-ending battle. And I get it. She has every right to be a miserable bitch, right? I mean, her husband's out of town. She's like a single mother. But hey, you know what? She is doing okay. The best thing is, we are still putting out there an episode. We missed last week, had some issues. It's just like and live is kind of exciting, but also a little bit nerve-wracking when I'm by myself. I don't have anybody to like bounce ideas off of. So Kelly, thanks so much for leaving me hanging and not being a trooper and showing up while your house is flooded. Just the basement, not anywhere else. I think the storm. What the fuck happened? Okay, so I was actually told not to swear so much. Recently I started dating somebody, and they're in education, and they have like a serious position, and I'm like, well, that's just the way I talk. And they're like, you sound uneducated by you just inserting like fuck or f. Like, I think I just love swearing as I get older, because like when I was a kid it was always like really like, we're gonna wash your mouth out with soap, young man. Ryan, we're gonna wash your mouth out with soap. And I was always like, I can't help myself. I do love to swear. It's just fun, but then it can be like I mean, what do you guys think? Like, comment below what your thoughts are on swearing. Is it trashy? Is it meaningful? Do you feel like it's kind of, I don't know, like inserts like some kind of what's the right word I'm trying to go for? Like it emphasizes something that's like very bold and like just frustrating or exciting, like I don't know. Anyways, I don't want to digress on that whole bullshit, but Kelly, she is I took some notes, and I just want to give you some update while she's not here. We are still good. We're not, in any, like, I just saw her earlier and she was just a mess, and the poor thing just like she just could not win this month. It's only May 1st and it's not looking so good. And I love you, Kelly, but you really are just hitting with these like unfortunate sequence of events. And it's not even a Lemony Snicket series, it's your real life. And I'll tell you, the two kids sick for straight weeks, like 2 full 14 days at least. And I felt bad because whenever I was going over there, we were meeting with an author recently that was wanting to interview us because she's putting together a novel for her new book. And, anyways, not to give too much information, because we did sign a contract to not discuss it on the podcast. She has really strict rules, and I don't know if we want to put out her name just yet. We'll wait until her book is released. But it's yeah, I went over there. Her poor son, Kelly's son, is just like, he was like lethargic, like completely sleep, like just sleep. And it was kind of sad to see him sick. And I was just like, okay, you do have to deal with this stuff. Like, these are like not just animals or puppies or like cat, like, like you have to go to the hospital or the ER if you're like unsure if they're really like, they're not able to, like, they're at that age that you can't talk. So it does feel like it's a little bit stressful to be a mother today. I don't know what our parents were like whenever we were growing up, obviously, but I do feel like there's a lot of mom shaming on mothers being perfect. And like, even like there's other like women and men like trying to like justify or generalize, like, oh well, like, I'm a dink, I have dual income, no kids, like life is good. And it's like, you don't need to rub that into the parents out there that have children that are feeling like it's stressful. Like, you want to be there to like help out and like, just support them instead of like making these little dig snide comments like, oh, I don't have kids, thank God. Like, I just can't. Like, I can't have them. They're just like, it's too much effort. And I just like, I wouldn't be able to afford my lifestyle if I had them. You guys need to get some social intelligence because my girl Kelly is going through it. And a lot of mothers are. And she's fortunate that she has a supportive family and husband. But just for all the mothers and even the fathers that are single parents or that are going through this, like even the storm that happened yesterday, no electricity, the food in the freezer is going, rotten if you don't replace it into another location. And after so many, and it gets expensive to have a storm, like you're out of power. And then in some ways, like it's good because then you kind of, I guess, like, what do you like? Really get away from technology. And Kelly actually was reading the book where the author came over and signed us a copy, and it was just kind of cool to be able to be like, we're fully disconnected. We're going off the, because if your phone's dead, you can't be scrolling. But I'm sure everybody was juiced up. They were ready to be prepared to just have their phone available in case they needed to be like me, addicted, and just be scroll like they call it doom scrolling. I need to get off of that. I think every time we talk about like, addictive personalities, like what our mission is, mocktails or messy, it's like realizing like what our addictions are and how do we overcome them and how do we do better. And just like, for me, it shifts like from like, the weekend boozing to like, the edible sativa, then to like the caffeine nitro cold brews. And now it's just like love addiction or like even like the phone scrolling addiction. I'm like, oh, it's for work. It's emails, it's real estate, or it's podcasting, or it's connection, or it's, it's something, it's research. Like we just have so much on our phone that we kind of have to force ourselves to leave it on the level above us. If you have a 2-story home, I recommend putting that phone after a certain point in the evening. If you're going down to have dinner, or if you're, I don't know, if you have like a downstairs lower level, like leave your phone on another floor, put it on silent. I don't know if that's possible. I know for me it's hard. Like even right now, I was like getting a call from somebody about a lockbox that they're showing a property of mine I listed recently. So that can be a little nerve-wracking in the back of your head where I'm like, well, it's work. I have to be available for work. But then deleting the social media apps are important, I think, for actually really overcoming those doom scrolling or just like being addicted to social and just like, I mean, I'm constantly checking my email. I feel like that seems to be a good addiction is work, work, making money. I know most people would maybe disagree because they're overworked and they don't get to spend as much quality time with their family. I personally am in that stage of my life where it's like, okay, I'm a little nervous. I'm dating somebody and I want to take the time to really cultivate like, this new relationship. But then I'm also kind of like in a point in my life where I'm just getting started with like real estate and podcasting. And I don't want that to kind of go by the wayside and get distracted by this new honeymoon phase of a relationship. But really, when you are with somebody that aligns with the same values, I think after reading this book, it was Linda Heininger gave me this book. Shout out to Lindy Lou. It was, oh my God, I read this book and I can't, I like put on the spot. The live is real. Like if I wasn't on live, I'd be able to like edit, put this in, the editing room cut floor, if you will. But yeah, just somebody that aligns with the same values with you. So like if they are like striving for high performance in their career and life, like whether it's fitness, career, financial freedom, health and wellness, like those values are something that I really strive for myself because I think in the last couple decades, I was just like all about the fun and the hilariousness and the creativity, like seeking people that were, from a relationship standpoint that were in line that way, or in like the same sense, like, oh, we would get along because like we were so similar and like we were striving for like, you know, acting or entertainment or, I mean, I hate to say this, but like as I get older, I used to be like, oh, I can't be honest about like how much I want to be in reality television, or if I want to like, talk about certain things that I feel are like too much like all like about me, 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 me. It's like limelight. Like I want that. I used to think that was really such a negative, cringy thing. But then as I get older, I'm like, you just need to own it. Like people that are putting themselves out there and being honest about what they want are actually achieving it. And it's like no shame in the game. And so going back to Kelly, I feel like since I don't have you, I'm a little bit nervous and really like just rambling. As you could talk, I like some people said that I talk too slow because they're like, you're so like chill and laid back. But really, whenever I get into a little bit like more nervousness, I do type to like talk very fast and maybe not say the correct grammatic sentences. They don't come across as very well articulate, but hey, that's all like, fine and dandy. I mean, I think the thing is nobody really would judge me on that because the strengths outweigh the weaknesses. We have to embrace our strengths and realize that you create a team that can maybe like be powerful together, whether that's in real estate or whether that's in work. I recently had somebody that was, talking about how this team in education was going to be better off because it would be balanced with like men and women. And like there was also this like, somebody is really analytical, somebody is also like very personable because you got to balance the two. Like, even now to this day, I think me and Kelly are so similar that we really value our editor, Chloe, who is, keeps us a little bit more grounded and able to get through like, a lot of the tough, like administrative things and editing. Obviously, like we can do the raw editing ourselves, but it does, it's drawn out. We're just like too chatty and like unfocused and like want to talk about like other things that are going on in our life that we can bring to an episode. But this storm has really put a lot of people in Pittsburgh and out of power for days, and like it also has been really just kind of devastating to see something like Fiore's Pizzeria in the South Hills. The roof was completely torn off because of the 80-mile-an-hour winds. So that's really scary to have something happen that we are used to not like having those kind of strong like winds. I'm just like I was looking out the window and I was so freaking out scared, like almost like get a little bit more nervous as I've gotten older about these just catastrophic events that have happened in the news. And even like just like whenever you hear about these like extreme temperatures from like super hot in like the desert with the forest fires, and even like the California fires, and then you hear like the extremities that we are really experiencing, such as like these 80-mile-an-hour winds in Pittsburgh. I don't think that some of these structures can be able to withstand that, like as in, South Florida, where their, construction is accustomed to the hurricanes. And I mean, it is just kind of crazy. So, like, no power for 3 days, no cell service. The cell service is completely shot where Kelly is. And, the basement pipe burst in her home. So, she had flooding. I'm going to insert this video at some point. Like, it's crazy to see, like, how much water was coming through the ceiling. And you're just like, they literally just moved into this place and we found it together, and it's like been their dream home, and it's a labor of love because just because something's your dream home and you get the right price, or you finally sign on the dotted line and you do a little bit of cosmetic updates, doesn't mean that something else, like, internally is going to happen, because you don't know what's behind those walls. You don't know what kind of insulation is there. You don't know what kind of, like, when you go through these properties as a buyer, you're just hoping for the best, and you're hoping that the structural engineer, if you need it, is going to give you the best advice. And then you also hope that, like, the inspector is going to be able to identify any issues, but, like, you don't really know. You can't be digging through. Like, think about it. Like, you can't go through the house, and just because a house is new construction doesn't mean that that home is going to be created up to the standard of, maybe a family of five. Like, think about it. Like, you got to put a lot of wear and tear with, like, animals and, a large family. And so it does feel like there's a lot going on. And, when I saw Kelly today, she did smell a little funky. And it was like, oh God, I don't want to say anything. She's already a little bit, like, stressed out from the flooding. And, husband's been out of town. He's probably loving it. I could see him, like, he won't send any of these, like, beautiful beach shots of him having, like, a beer on the beach, because he's, out of town working. And he is definitely on the beach somewhere with a Corona, enjoying his time away from home. And, Kelly's just struggling right now. And I'm getting a call from Cleveland, Ohio. I think I got to take it. Just bear with me, guys. I'm going to put on speaker. This is Ryan. Hello there. Probably a spam call. How many people, comment below, how many times a day do you get, like, a spam call that you have to screen, or you pick it up and you're like, please take me off of your do not call list? I feel like I at least get 2 a day. And I'm like, I don't know if that's just from being an agent and, like, having my number now more publicly out there online, and I'm just always kind of a little bit reluctant to, like, just give out your number. It's almost like I need to have, like, another number, just, like, business wise. But then having to carry 2 phones, I guess you can actually put them on an app and something. But as I digress, she didn't have a shower for 3 days, so I was gonna, like, let Kelly slide. I'm like, I'm not gonna say something like you are a little bit like, smells a little funky, but I think in some ways, like, now I'm saying it. So, I mean, hopefully that, at this point she's gotten a shower. I think the water is back on. I think it had something to do with the electric pump. So the electricity was out. They live on a large piece of land, and, it's like they have public water, but also, like, a septic that is, on the land. So I don't know. I mean, it seemed like it could have been just maybe, like, a little bit of like a birdie bath or a spritz might have helped, but we don't want to make Kelly feel any worse than she does with having to clean up that basement flooding. But I mean, like, she could not even call for help because there was no service. Like, that's kind of fucking crazy. And then, like, I get this, like, video this morning, and I feel so bad because I'm like, I sold you guys the house, and I probably feel like somewhat of responsibility to, like, why these issues are happening. But don't make yourself feel bad. It's like, people are gonna find out regardless. That's why you get insurance. That's why you get a home warranty. I mean, she definitely greeted me like a feral raccoon in sweatpants. And I was just saying that, like, I feel bad whenever I always, like, talk shit about people like that don't like to dress up and like just to go out into public and stuff. Like I'm not saying like I'm like trying to be fancy all the time, but like what is it that we've allowed ourselves to just go out into public and like look like we're bumming it with flip-flops and like maybe pajama pants or I don't know. I mean, I like to be comfy cozy at home, but like just to go to the grocery store, I'm not saying that you got to be like all dolled up or all like, buttoned up, but I feel like there is something to be said. Like Americans, or maybe just after COVID, we got super lazy and like comfy cozy kind of transferred from like behind closed doors to like out into public, like shopping. I don't know. Maybe like we're overworked and underpaid. I just feel like you bring confidence and you feel good when you're presenting yourself to the best of your ability, even if it's not for others, it's just for yourself. It's like a self-pride feeling. And I'm not an expert on this. I'm just knowing that like when I feel my most confident in presenting in a meeting or even just like at a family function or even like a Christmas party or something, I always feel like excited and just more, just I think even taking alcohol out of the equation has even made me more rely on putting myself together because I used to just gravitate towards a glass of champagne just to feel a little bit like, socially like comfortable, like the social lubricant they call it. So I do think it is important, guys. I mean, it sounds like I'm preaching to the choir. Like we all know it, but like let's just practice it a little bit more. I mean, I had a meeting with this Italian realtor designer. We met on a job and I just immediately gravitated towards her because I was just like, "Oh my God, like you got a great dress." And she's like, "It's from Target. You would have never expected that." So like I know it sounds like really like you need to be like telling us what to wear and what not to wear, but like it's just kind of like come on, like sweats and like bumming it, like just like you want to be like you are a reflection of what your self-worth is. If you feel like that going out in public all disheveled and like really comfy clothes and like just looking like real raggedy, that's not a good reflection on how you want others to perceive you as. Maybe you just don't give a shit and maybe there's something powerful about that, but like I think if you want the respect, I think that, we all need to try a little bit. And I've been there too. Like, I've been there where I felt like, after COVID, I was like getting a little bit too like comfortable just being a little bit cash and like bumming around. And I think what kind of snapped me out of it was working for a company that really prided themselves on like appearance and just like getting, dressed up. Like you can never be overdressed, but you can always be underdressed. That's something that stood out to me. My last company I worked for, it's like I know that we're getting too cash, but what are you gonna do? I mean, nobody seems to give a shit but me, but that's just me getting on my soapbox, trying to put it out there, but take what you want from it. So I mean, going back to like, my girl Kelly who was not able to make it today for legitimate reasons. She has every right to be a miserable bitch given this set of sequence of events. Two sick kids, no power, flooded basement, husband's gone out of town per usual. Sometimes, she's, still actually laughing it off right now and not throwing something at me. Like, that's probably good. I just don't know how she does it, but I'm proud of her. I really am for keeping it together when most people would have snapped. I mean, there was something that was kind of playful at the end of like seeing her this morning. She was like, "You know what? I can't make it to the day to the studio, but like all is good. God is great. Like she's not like super religious or anything, but we do feel like, there is that like silver lining to it all. Like, okay, it's flooded. What are you gonna do? You can't bitch about it. Insurance company hopefully will cover it. But if it doesn't, it's like she's gotta pay for it, and she will, because she's not gonna like just let the mold kind of create. I think after 72 hours, mold starts to form if you don't clear the basement of any moisture. Like, excuse me, hiccuping. But yeah, so it's like she's gonna get the remediation and the right team that came there, and that's the blessing. The silver lining was the team stepped up to the plate. Contractors, plumbers, they were all there on site. Just after she found out that it was flooding, we got the right guys, and they were definitely available, which is kind of scary now with everything that's going on after the storm. Like, with the power lines down and the trees in the streets like falling over. So I think in some way, like, we just have to be appreciative that we were able to find the right guys and girls to get the job done. So thank you so much for the teams that kind of helped out Kelly this morning. I mean, I know myself, like, I love to be a solutions guy when it comes to my job in real estate and podcasting, and even interior designing. Is like, I want to find the solution. I don't want to keep circling around problems and creating, more work for myself. Like, let's be more streamlined and efficient. So I was recently talking to the person I'm dating, and they're like, for somebody who was an industrial engineer, studied at Penn State and worked it a little bit, you don't seem like super efficient with your time. Like, you really get caught up in all these, like, conversations, and it's just like blah 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 blah, like, and you're like talking in circles and stuff. And I'm like, well, there is a social aspect to, a realtor and a real estate agent and even a podcaster. You have to have good banter. Like, if you just like keep cutting it short, and if you make people feel like you don't want to spend time with them, then what makes you feel like they're going to trust you and open up, like, to what they really want? Like, whether that is like a specific home, like, or, financials are very private. So like, you really have to like make them feel like you care. And so with that comes, maybe a little bit of banter that's like circling around, like, and you're not really getting anywhere, but then you want to hone it all in and, like, kind of realize, okay, this has been going on for maybe 10 minutes over what I estimated it to be, this conversation. So let's get to the point, or let's kind of circle back when we have more time to discuss this. And let's also like find the common goal, or goals if there's multiple. And if you guys don't have the common goal, like, as like, a guest, like, and a host on a podcast, or even like somebody in like a corporate position, like a boss and a, employee, if you don't have the same common goals, then you want to kind of find a common ground and be like, okay, can we agree to disagree? I mean, I don't think that always works whenever you have a leadership role and, like a subordinate or somebody that's like like going up to the, like, answering to the boss or the supervisor. And so I think at my last job, I was loving it, had the best time of my life, but then I had like a really hands off, I guess, manager, if you will. He was like so unavailable, not there, but relied on me, commended me for, like, just showing up and doing the best I could. So like, there was a lot of positive reinforcement, but like, I was kind of like a fish, like trying to swim, or like, like I was like flailing because that was just all put on my shoulders. And like, then like the higher ups were yelling at me, like, what the fuck is going on? And I didn't want to throw my boss under the bus because they got me the job and I was so appreciative. But like, they were MIA, not available, never in the office. And I was just like very grateful to just have the position. So then the opposite thing happened where they hired somebody that was kind of much more anal analytical on top of it, micromanaging. And it felt like, oh my gosh, I don't know if I could handle this because it went from one stream to the other. And then their values didn't align with mine. So then it was like, oh my gosh, I can't even like comment below if you've ever had this like power dynamic struggle where like, yeah, I loved your boss, but like they did not support you at all. So you're kind of like flailing, trying to figure things out on your own. And then also comment below, like, if you've ever had this like power struggle where somebody new comes into the equation that is your new supervisor or new person that you answer to that really you don't like vibe well, and you're professionally trying your best to get through the day to day without being micromanaged, or even if your values don't align and you agree to disagree, you still have to kind of play the game that like you agree with them because they're in charge. And sometimes I remember with this specific boss, I would always utilize my credentials and my education. And I could tell that they were like, that doesn't mean anything, or that's not important. Like, it's important what you do now. And I was just like, okay, but I'm trying to show the client and the customer why they should trust me based on my, experience, education, like, technical experience, and like, whatever it may be. And it was just like, gosh, I really felt like I was butting heads constantly, and I was like, I needed to get the fuck out of there. And so I jumped at a position that was not really my favorite option, but it was what I studied. It was engineering, it was HVAC, commercial, industrial, ventilation, like a sales engineer role. And I got into it, went through this intense training. I was like, okay, I'm in it for the money, I'm in it for the partnership. Like, I really want to like prove to myself, like, when they stick this high salary bonus and eventual partner position in the business, you're like, well, I couldn't like not take it, or I couldn't like go after it because there was just so much at stake for like financial freedom. I might be working like all the time, 70 hours maybe, but it was like I had to at least jump into the deep end and try to get back to my engineering roots. And, to make a long story short, they made me feel like after 2 weeks, they're like, you're just not getting it. Like, I'm sorry. But like, there was no support. Like, there was one person trying to train, and, I had been out of the business for like 7 years. I proved to myself, like, after a year of interviewing back and forth to get this engineering position. And then they're like, I just thought you were going to be a little bit more up to speed by now. And it's like less than 2 weeks. I mean, I'm talking like 10 days. And I really was busting my ass. And like, in some ways it like fucked with my confidence because I'm like, shit, like maybe I wasn't meant for this. And in the same wheelhouse, I was like, no, but I'm like doing the best I can, and I'm showing up, and I am picking it up. But I do feel like there was a lack of support and a lack of pressure. And I'm not saying like I shouldn't have been let go, but it was traumatic in a sense where I'm like, oh shit, I left the job that had the crazy boss that got hired in, but I liked the work and I liked the design creativity behind it. It wasn't enough money, but there was potential. And so I went for the money job, and they didn't even give me more than like 12 days to I do think the money job, the guy was in over his head. He started to like fall in love for somebody. He wanted to take off, and he didn't want to be involved with trying to train somebody that he thought was going to be like hit the ground running like myself, like very quickly into this engineering role, if you will. And so there was this like, oh, really, like, where is, like, what am I gonna do? So then I jumped back and, I never looked back. I had a great time when I went back into the design firm. They luckily took me back and I didn't burn any bridges, thankfully, fingers crossed. But the reason I'm talking about this long cycle of like, leaving the job, going to a new job, getting laid off, going back to the design job was because I really felt like you never want to burn a bridge. I noticed that a lot of people exit not gracefully, or a lot of people like say whatever's on their mind and they kind of, get fired. I've never been in a position where I was let go until that point, and it was pretty devastating. But then I proved myself to the old company that I was of value, that they took me back even though I left them. And so, in some weird way, I was fortunate. And yeah, and then fast forward, go to a trip with, I think you guys, if you follow us on Mocktails or Messy, it was a trip to Hawaii, and then had a bad breakup and then left LA, and fast forward to now in Pittsburgh, over a year sober. January 3rd is my sobriety date. Thanks to Kelly and Mocktails Are Messy for keeping me in line and accountable. Is this podcast has been so important to me in my sobriety journey. I noticed that, like, with this, I've been able to accomplish 3x the amount of things I want to do with my life. And I owe it all to the podcast, and I owe it all to the audience. We are now at 26,000 followers on Instagram. I have to thank my co-host Kelly Mizgorski for supporting me throughout the way. I know that we were party animals, debaucherous, arrested in college for being publicly intoxicated and public urinations, but here we are evolving. We are not afraid to talk about the messy. We are here to keep ourselves accountable and evolve in our 30s. As Kelly's a mother, she might not be here today. She's tending to her children and her new property, but I'm also somebody that likes to really like be involved with my family as much as possible. So I'm so happy that I can kind of get into a better stage of my life sober. In my hometown, I was fighting it. I didn't want to come back to Pittsburgh. I really wanted to stay in La La Land or even New York. But then I think in some ways, like, I saw this recent story with I think her name is Bree, or I don't, she's like a redhead from New York City Housewives. She said that you got to make seven figures to really live in New York comfortably. And I don't disagree. I mean, I've only really kind of got into the six-figure markup, but I've never really experienced anywhere near seven figures. But that's what I think you can really, like, as you get older in New York, can really just enjoy it instead of being like constantly like nickel and diming, because, like, the rents are astronomical, the properties are like outrageous, but then like you're there for the vibrancy, the city's energy, the nonstop hustle. I think you actually, like, if you can make it in New York, you can make it anywhere. That's what like everybody says. It sounds super cliche, but I truly believe that. I couldn't make it in New York. I loved it, but I was like always like on this like high when I would like do really well with like production or commercials, and then I also kind of felt like, damn, like, where is the next big check? Like, even whenever I was working corporate for this engineering job, it was a privately owned company. I shouldn't say corporate, but I always refer to corporate as like the 9 to 5 or the 8 to 6, because really, like, 9 to 5 doesn't exist. Can we comment below, like, what is the typical work day for most people? Like, when I was at the design firm, it was 10 to 6, and that was like by a long shot. Like if you had to stay late, which was typically you should be staying late like Monday through Thursday, we'll let Friday slide because it's the weekend, but like nobody really works 9 to 5 anymore in that kind of a setting. It's always like 8 to 6 or 7 to 5. Like, people are getting up earlier to get more done. You don't like, I think that the 5 a.m. club is real. Like, I can get so much more accomplished. And especially as like a realtor or a podcaster or a designer, which is all 1099 employees. So, like, when I say 1099, most people will understand this that are in freelance, but it is like you are not a corporate or a W-2 employee of a company that would be like operating at full time. So like you could be a contractor at 1099 or a W-4, like a commercial, like for instance, like my commercial work is either W-4 or like 1099. I mean, I'm boring you guys with all these details, but it is something to be cognizant of whenever you're considering like getting involved in like a creative business. Like you really will value from, living under your means so you can continue your passion and hustle of not being tied to the desk, not being handcuffed to the desk. I think we all realize that there's two types of personalities, the ones that want the structure and that want that consistency, like they are going to get a bi-weekly paycheck, or even whenever I was working at a design firm, it was a monthly paycheck. And like that was a little bit stressful, but it made me manage my money better when you were only getting paid monthly. But needless to say, now living in Pittsburgh as a creative, as a 1099 employee, as a realtor, as a podcaster, as an interior designer, or as Kelly as a stay-at-home mom, we really are able to thrive in the low overhead cost of living. Kelly lived in San Diego. She lived in Beaufort, South Carolina, all over the South. I lived in New York. I lived in LA. You guys know that who follow us or who know us or friends or family, but like being home with family and having low overhead really gives you that peace of mind that you can either travel more, or you can like work on your passions more, you can like get creative and like really enjoy your life even if the sunshine isn't there in the Berg. I mean, listen, a lot of people love and will spend tons of money living in Seattle or Portland, but you know, it's rainy and it's not like super sunny and nice, but I guess it's a little bit more temperate. It might be too extreme here for most people, but I do notice that I didn't even go over my mocktails today. I am Mr. Mocktail. I got my messy at home. Kelly couldn't make it, unfortunately. You know the reason if you've been listening. But what is the big fuss about Poppy? I want to know what everybody thinks. Please comment below. Do you love Poppy? Do you know what Poppy is? Why is Poppy such a hot product? And how did the owner of Poppy sell her business for $1.4 billion? Like, that is crazy to me. Like, so this girl, shout out to female business owners, created Poppy, a probiotic soda. We're not getting paid for this, guys. I'm just like so like wowed by this whole probiotic soda. Like I remember seeing the advertisements and I was just like, Poppy? Like what the fuck is Poppy? Oh, it's the new soda. Okay, so it's better. Like I'm confused. Like what is Poppy? I want to know. And I'm very confused. I really want to know what everybody thinks about Poppy and what they are actually doing. Like, are they drinking it because it's low in sugar, low calorically, low in carbohydrates? Like this Poppy Wildberry probiotic soda, 5 grams of sugar. I'm happy. I'm like loving that. Like I mentioned this before, like 50% of me, my dad's side, all diabetics. And then, the other 50% of me, they seem to be pretty healthy, my mom's side, for the most part. And so, how does Poppy like only have 5 grams of sugar? And I'll tell you what it is. It does have infused with apple cider vinegar, ingredients you can love, probiotics. It is just sparkling water, cascade root fiber, organic cane sugar, so a little bit cane sugar, apple cider vinegar, which you wouldn't think would be sweet, apple juice. So you got a little juice in there. It must be very minimal. Organic agave, vegetable juice, stevia leaf extract. So we got the stevia and we got the apple juice. So that must be it. Let's try it. Mmm. Wild berry is lit. I love it. I don't even want to try the other two, but I thought it might be good. I like the wild berry. It's probably my favorite. I've tasted them. I've tried them all. And I think it's my favorite, but I don't know if it's just because I like blue things and this might be more of a purple, but it tastes really just refreshing, light. I do notice that it kind of tastes healthy. Like, I don't know if you've ever had like a probiotic, but it maybe something about the apple cider vinegar. Like, whenever we were going through that whole thing with like, oh, everybody's taking shots of apple cider vinegar to like spark something. I don't remember what it was. I was even doing it. But okay. Light, refreshing, pretty tasty. Then we have the cream soda. Now, if anybody likes cream soda, this could be a good dessert, maybe with a little scoop of ice cream. It might not be as healthy as just having the probiotic cream soda on its own, but you got to think about it. Like, if we cut areas of, you know, our daily intake of like just being a little bit more cognizant. I feel like Michael Rose was telling me to say it a different way. I mean, shit, like, words are hard. That's pretty good too. It's not as good as the wild berry. I think it's just my preference. I like more of a citrus berry flavored, like, when you have like that muddled like blueberries and mint. Like, I just feel like that's like more my vibe. Like, I could totally have the wild berry with some mint, make like a faux mojito. I like the sound of that faux mojito. But yeah, I mean, I think also this Doc Pop probiotic. I love Dr. Pepper. So I'm going to assume this is like a Dr. Pepper equivalent. 30 calories. We don't really care about calories, guys. Remember, it's all about the sugar and the carbohydrates. So for the Doc Pop, this one is 5 grams of sugar, like the wild berry, and the cream soda. So there's something all in common, 5 grams of sugar. So this one has 9 grams of carbohydrates, 30 calories per serving. I mean, it's a win-win. Oh, that's really good. Okay, definitely. I'm going to pick my favorites, but for two different reasons. Dog Pop is going to be the best equivalent that people are like Dr. Pepper. I should have gotten the Coca-Cola one. I've never been like a Coke person. I like Coke Zero for the energy, but I'm wondering if Dog Pop is got caffeine in it. Let's see. I don't think it does because it would alert us. Soda's back, but better. Yeah, so like Poppy really brought something special, and like I like her even a little like message on the can. It says, "Baby, you're a classic." And so is the soda in your hand. It's got that iconic flavor for the doctor's famous for that it's got that iconic flavor the doctor's famous for. but without all the extra sugar. With 5 grams of sugar, ingredients you can love and prebiotic pro pre oh it's prebiotics. Wait, I was saying probiotics the whole time. It's prebiotics. Okay, okay, all right, all right. With 5 grams of sugar, ingredients you can love and prebiotics. This is what classic tastes like. I mean, oh, it does have 40 milligrams of caffeine. So, sorry, I kind of like burped there, but yeah, I think it's just like one of those things that like we can really swap out all those bad, naughty sodas that we all love, including Coca-Cola, Coke Zero. I know everybody loves that stuff, but just look at the ingredients and see what the long-term effects are. I don't know. I'm all big on like now looking at like where's monk fruit? Like, I want to get the sweetener that has monk fruit. I've heard that's better than stevia, but let's try this Doc Pop again. Oh my God, that is good. Okay, I'm definitely a Doc Pop fan. I think if I'm like trying to go for it, it just makes you feel good. Pop is back in with Poppy. And like we said, I know it's not good to like mix the palettes because then you still have that lingering flavor that was from the other one. But mm, I just like berry, not gonna lie, I love me some berry. But I think the moral of the story is we need to find alternatives that are going to be healthier long term so we can avoid prescriptions, so we can avoid any type of surgeries that are unnecessary because we are living longer. If you're not like saving, if you're not like creating some kind of like retirement plan that is going to benefit from you, you're going to run into these issues. It's just natural as we get older. And luckily, like my grandparents, fingers crossed, have not had any major issues, and they're like 89 and 92. So like, I mean, we can bank on our genetics, but only to a certain degree. They grew up without the preservatives that we've had, and they never were fast food people. And I think to myself, after learning a lot about how we have evolved as a society, nobody really cares about nutrition. I mean, like let's be honest. Like we look at the nutrition facts, but we're still going to eat what we want, and we're going to say, "Oh, that's bad," but then we're still going to crave it, or it's still going to be available. And like I know myself, I'm not even like that much better to like preach about it and then discuss it on the podcast. It's like asinine. If you would have saw me last night, I was eating these gummies, not edible gummies, not THC. They were like Shaq gummies, like of the face of Shaq. So it was kind of just like stupid, like fun candy that you would get like at a candy store. And it was, my boy had it. And it was just like something that I was like kind of sitting there. And I'm like, oh God, I'm hungry and I'm craving a sweet. But like having those things available for you, the overnight oats, the protein shake. I mean, you don't want to get like too involved with the manufactured like processed foods. Like, the protein powder can be just as crazy, but taking those like things into consideration to have like, good alternatives that when you have that sweet tooth craving, like grab the protein shake or grab the poppy or grab the the overnight oats, or like even like I've seen people that are like whipping up something that is like really good, like Greek yogurt with like fruit like berries and stuff like that. I don't want to keep harping on it, but I think it's just the more and more that I, observe like our society and even myself, like having that stuff available and not having the bad stuff in the house is so important. And I know that that doesn't really correlate to mocktails or messy, but having the mocktails available in your house, if you are a drinker and do like to get messy, just having the mocktails is gonna help you just grab it opposed to grabbing the alcoholic drink every night. So then you can just like, enjoy and divulge on the weekends, and it's just like healthier for you. And I see so many people that are in the best shape of their lives because they've cut back on the booze, because then the booze leads to other things such as like the fried food, or the dumplings that are in the freezer, or the fast food runs to McDonald's. I mean, when I was like doing the edibles and smoking a joint in LA, there was like all bets were off. I was like, I'm eating that pantry and then some. So like, I think now that I'm like 100% sober, and I talk about my struggle with like going completely sober and then somebody offering me this kratom shot, and like, I want to talk about that. Like, what the fuck is kratom, and like, what the fuck is going on with like, just, I guess, like, we've become a society of like, what's the next thing? Like, I was talking to Katrina, the Northeast Ginger. You can follow her on Instagram. She is the mocktail queen. We have a mocktail meetup in the city. She's amazing. And she talks about how she's like now taken like that she's off the booze for so many years, but she's still like kind of dabbling with the weed, and she's like, the weed is the new booze. And so it's like, now we're kind of like switching gears, and it can be just as a trap into kind of getting into that same cycle that is not healthy. Like, ideally you just want to feel good, you want to be like, sounds cheesy, but health is the new wealth. You can't be like enjoying yourself if you're not feeling mentally and physically good. I mean, I see my dad and he's in pain because he hasn't gone to physical therapy, and he's had this like really tight IT band for probably over a year, and he's not been able to move his knee, and we thought it was about his weight, but really it's about his band not being flexible enough. So on the one side, so I mean, we are finding solutions and trying to have, as you grow older, feeling your best and just enjoying your life, because we've all kind of, work so hard. And if you don't eat right, and if you don't get your cardiovascular system up to speed and working out, and just like even 20 minutes a day is going to go a long way, guys. Just do it for yourself. You will not regret it. I mean, as much as we like to get a little lazy and be a couch potato on the weekends, like, we snap out of it, or we should, because you just want to be your best version as we get older. And I know in my mid 30s, I'm learning now for the first time that I'm a little bit down if I don't break a sweat. So like, after like 3 days of like skipping my workouts, like I get a little bit down. I'm like, what's going on? Like, why am I feeling a little foggy or fuzzy, or just not like as positive? It's like, oh wait, you forgot to get your sweat on. And I now know that if I don't get my sweat on at least once to twice a week, just depends, twice ideally minimum, then I'm feeling a little meh, meh, or just not as positive and not my best self. So I want to encourage us all, 3 times a week, 20 minutes of exercise, and, really try to just like, gravitate towards the healthier options out there like Poppy. And I'm not getting paid by Poppy. I'm just saying, like, everybody loves soda. Everybody goes out and they get a soda, they get a Coke, they get a drink, they get a this, they get a that. It's just like, have the dessert over the sugary beverage. Grab the probiotic Poppy soda, the prebiotic Poppy soda over the Coke Zero, even though Coke Zero tastes good in your head and it's zero sugar. But just look at those ingredients versus a Poppy, or even a sparkling water if you're feeling frisky and you just don't care about it being too, you know, fancy. But, I am so glad to have you guys on Mocktails or Messy Live. I really miss my co-host, Kelly. I hope that she's doing better, and I really wish you guys all the best. This is just the beginning. We are going to have a fun summer, and I appreciate you guys for listening. Please make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel, Mocktails or Messy, YouTube/Mocktails or Messy. And if you subscribe to our Instagram, we will slide into your DMs with some messy moments from me and Kelly as we document our debaucherous past and new beginnings of mindful drinking and sobriety. Love you guys. This is Ryan Frankowski. Cheers.